I had a family member ask me how I got into flashlights. And that's a fair question. How does someone get into flashlights of all things? Thought I'd give you my experience and what led me to get into flashlights. I think one of my experiences that I'll share with you is going to be perhaps more shared, more common to a lot of you. And then one I hope really is not. So I'll share, those two experiences I had. They happened right around the same time in my life a few years back. But in any case, I want to know how you got into flashlights. If you watch this channel, I assume you like flashlights too. I know I've talked to some of you via email. Some of you are into flashlights for professional reasons. I've talked to some electricians, spending a lot of time in attics, some plumbers, some law enforcement security guys as well. And yeah, a lot of people like to camp, fish, hike, overland, things like that. So let me know how you got into flashlights. Was it at a young age? Was it recent? But as for me, here we go. The first experience that I'll share that got me into flashlights, I think is going to be common to a lot of people. So we've got to rewind back to 2020, the pandemic hits. That was pretty terrible for many reasons, right? People getting sick, businesses shutting down, all the nonsense. And yeah, I was living hand to mouth for most of my life. I was living in a suburban context, and yeah, whenever you go to the store, everything you need is there for purchase whenever you want throughout my whole life. But for the first time ever, I'm walking into stores and there's just entire shelves that are missing. The items are gone or cleared out. Now, toilet paper is the one that everyone remembers, but it was a lot of stuff, and I remember that being eye-opening. I was like, wow, like if like I don't have that at home, and like it's not here, like. And then there's supply chain issues and everything else. I was newly married at the time as well, so it wasn't just me. I was taken care of. It was my wife as well, and yeah, like nothing was missing that was like, life or death. No, nothing like that, but like some of the conveniences and certain things, and it was just freaky to see the empty shelves. And I was like, wow. So I kind of started getting into preparedness from that point on a little bit. Like, hey, how can I give ourselves a little bit of runway should something unexpected happen, whether that's just financially or in any area of life like that power outage. We're living in Tornado Alley over here now, so power outage concerns are kind of a thing over here. And then whenever we do have a power outage, even though it's short, I'm like a kid in the candy store. I just like whip out all these lights and lanterns and stuff and go crazy. But it is what it is. But anyways, yeah, the pandemic, that's going to be the first reason why I kind of got into flashlights, started watching other YouTube channels about the topic. And, as with any other hobby, you realize it just gets so complex and so deep, and there's a lot of interesting stuff to learn about it. So that's how I got down that rabbit hole. And here we are making videos about flashlights now. So crazy. But second experience, I hope none of you share this one. It's kind of sad. I mean, it's very sad. Basically, back when I was newly married, same time period, we're living in an apartment complex on the third floor in a three-story building. And we're kind of friends with the guy on the first floor as well. But in between us on the second floor was a couple that we didn't know, and they were having some issues, a lot of fighting, arguing. It was verbal and physical, and it got intense. There was threats. The walls were thin. We just heard everything. It was awful. It sounded like some slamming doors and some furniture getting thrown around and stuff like that. So it was bad. We were afraid for the lady's safety, so we would call the police from time to time when it was really bad. And we found out that other neighbors were doing the same thing because they were hearing the same things we were, had the same concerns. But what happened is in this situation, on one night, we call the police because we're hearing these things, and maybe half an hour goes by, and then there's a knock at the door. So I'm pretty concerned because even though we weren't down there, your adrenaline and your heart rate is definitely like pumping fast because, it's scary to hear that kind of stuff. And horrible, kind of triggers your fight or flight response. At least it did for me. But yeah, knock at the door. So I'm immediately a little bit concerned. I checked the peephole, and it was a police officer. So I'm like, sweet. Open the door. And he said, hey, why did you call? And I said, this is what we were hearing, and stuff like that. And he's like, well, their bathroom door was just stuck down there, and she had to kick the door open to get out. And I said, All right. And I said, look, I know you've been called here several times, and I didn't know if it was this particular officer. There was two of them. I said, I don't know if it was you guys, but I know that, you know, multiple times we've had to call, and she's in a tough position, a tough situation, and you know, I think she needs help. And I said, really, what we want is just for everyone to be safe. And you know, it was clear that this lady was kind of vouching for her abuser, kind of saying nothing was going on every time the officers would show up, which is just a sad reality in these kinds of situations. I guess it's not uncommon at all for that to take place, which is real sad. But in any case, then the girl, we noticed her like down the stairwell a little bit listening to this whole thing. So now I'm like, okay, so she for sure knows that we've called. So I told the officers, like, I appreciate you coming out, but I also, you know, I want safety for everyone, including my wife and I. And now they know that we've called. And sure enough, it was an issue because the next day, I don't know if it was the next day or it was at the very least the same week, my wife, I wasn't around, must have been working or something, but my wife is in the parking lot of that apartment complex, and the guy gives her this dirty look, like this scowl, really mean look. And she told me that when I got home, she told me she didn't feel safe. And when your wife tells you that sort of thing, you know, it really, you listen. And I realized that I can call the police, and I'm super grateful for police officers. However, there's a period of time from between when you call and when they show up. And, you know, I'm a smaller guy. So I started thinking about, okay, like, you know, practically, how do I keep my wife safe and myself safe in this environment, in this situation? We've got leases involved, not quite as easy just to up and leave. So yeah, preparedness and stuff like that came to the forefront of my mind during that time. So flashlights is a component of that. That's not the only thing I'm interested in, but it is definitely a major interest of mine. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into flashlights. Not to mention just growing up camping a lot. My parents would take me camping, me and my brother camping quite a bit, which we really enjoyed, and flashlights are a big part of that. Didn't think much of flashlights all growing up, just kind of like use them when needed. We didn't have super back then. They were all incandescent bulbs with alkaline batteries, nothing too crazy, but still fun to use a flashlight for sure. But yeah, that's kind of my history with flashlights and how I got into them in this capacity in any case. But yeah, how did you get into flashlights? Do you have a similar experience um, to the whole pandemic deal, or did you get into flashlights before then? Like I said, was it for outdoor purposes, professional, recreation, whatever? Um, Let us know. But thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. See you next video. Bye.